Hi, I'm Jake, and today we're going to be installing a 17 kilowatt Midea ducted refrigerated unit, and we're going to show you why they're so good to install and how to install it. Now we're going to split the unit and show you how it's done. So we should have 4 screws on either side. And then we should be able to lift her straight off. And we'll just put these screws back so we don't lose them. Alright, now we should have a further 6 screws and the fan wiring to unplug. So we'll unscrew them now. And now you can see it splits easily into 3 light pieces, making it much easier to get into the roof and install, or any tight place. Now we've got the casing off, the fan bolts off, and now all we have is the fan plug itself. And we have a thermistor there which doesn't need to be assembled. So as you can see, 10 screws and a little clip to disconnect the fan power supply, and that's all you need to do to disassemble this unit. Now before we go any further, just keep in mind for quality control at the factory, these are full of nitrogen. All right, that way it ensures that it's under pressure the whole time during transport and that you know that there's no leak once it gets to site. So please be careful when you do this and do it carefully.
If there is no nitrogen gas in the indoor unit, do not install this indoor unit.
There's the impact if you want it. We've got it in the roof and now we're ready to put it together. Obviously it's a bit of a tight space, but that's why the splittable ones are so good for this situation. Alright, let's give it a go. That's a new screw.
IDU drainage method and wiring modification.
Before we put this together, it's very important to realise that this unit has a drain pump, or it can be gravity fed as well. So if you see over here, we have the drain pump area if you need to use the pump, or we have our gravity fed area down here. Now, if you're going to use the gravity fed pump drain, we want to disconnect the drain pump over here. First, by disconnecting the drain pump over here, and that is able to be loose. What we also have is a water level sensor. So we have an inbuilt water sensor in here that senses when the water is building up, which turns on the pump. So if we're not using the pump, we want to disconnect this by taking the red part out, like so, squeezing down there and pulling this out. Alright, with the packaging, it will come with this with the flare nuts. This is a jumper lead for when you're disconnecting the drain pump, which needs to go on CN5 water level.
IDU assembling.
Another key feature I do like about these Mideas is access to the fan coil. There's about 10 screws around the outside, and we can get straight to the drip tray and the fan coil for maintenance and cleaning. So you take the 10 screws off, fan bolted back together. Very important not to forget the power slider plug back in, otherwise the fan won't work, and we'll just plug it back in like so, and then we'll put the cover back on and away we go. The difference between this Vesta model and the old one is we have a different wiring configuration. In the previous model we had an S1 and S2 interconnect plus the power. In this one we only have a single. So as you can see now, we have a live, a neutral, and a single. A key point to when putting the fan assembly back together when we're trying to reassemble the unit is it has 2 hooks on each side, so they can just be sat there and hung, and then it should be no problem to put the 6 remaining screws in as you need to. That way the fan will sit there nicely for you and it's easy to screw in.
Duct connection. Flaring making. Using nylon glue to lubricate and seal the flares. The indoor unit. Pipe connection. Insulating the pipe connect.
So once we've done our flares on the indoor unit, inside the unit itself does come with the flare nuts and some insulation to go around the nuts of the pipe. So we do need to see them put around. It does stop condensation and leaking in the roof, and it's good practice and it's part of the manufacturer's specifications. Also, we do like to see these units hung on all thread. In this particular case, we had no room in this roof, it was a bit tight. So we can put them on chipboard, but manufacturers do like to see them hung on all thread. Finally got our unit in, we've got our ducts taped on, everything ready to go, we've got our pair coil connected and drain connected. Please be aware of your return air side and your flow side. The flow side requires a transition, which is field supplied. The return air has its own supply spigot on there. And also remember, when you reassemble the box and the fan motor, you make sure you plugged in the power supply before you've reassembled. Another thing we have is we have a drain connector that comes with the unit, with the indoor. It must be used whether or not you use a gravity fed or that you actually use the pump side of things. Entirely up to the installer or the situation. In this case, we've gone with gravity fed. Alright, on these units, they have a drain on each side, which makes it helpful for when you need a drain on the other side of the unit. Just keep in mind, you need to check these plugs before you run this unit and make sure everything's sealed. Inside the indoor unit and outdoor unit, you will find these rubber pads. So if we just open these up, they are designed to go on the bottoms of the feet over here. Alright, in this case we've already installed them on a wall bracket, but if you were to place it on the ground, we'd want to see these underneath the feet every time. It helps protect the unit, stop vibrations, and stops the unit from rusting out. Makes the unit last a lot longer and gives you a bit of quality as well.
Install the anti-insect mash on ODU. ODU pipe connection. Vacuum. ODU wiring. Isolator wiring. Install the return box.
Well, we've installed the outdoor and the indoor, all the ductwork, we're ready for commission. A couple of key points we'd like to mention is with your pipe work. All right, once it's installed before vacuuming, we'd like to see it nitrogen tested. All right, that way it ensures that it does hold, we don't have any leaks anywhere, and then we can fault find if anything does go wrong. Also ensures good practice, and then we want it vacked out. A couple of other things is down here, we have a mesh. It's an insect protectant, stops any creatures going in there, just helps it protect the motherboard down the track. Another thing we have, these do come with rubbers, okay? We've already installed some on this wall bracket, but if we're going onto the ground or anywhere, we do like to see them installed on some rubber paddings. All right, protects the unit, stops it rusting out, and it stops any vibration noises and helps balance it.
ODU, drain stock installation.
Lastly, we do have a drain plug. All right, in this case, we're going to cut up the concrete later and put in a drain. So normally we'd like to see a drain installed from underneath, and we would use that in a 20mm drain or equivalent, and we would find a discharge point, either a down pipe or an overflow relief gully. We also like to see at least 150mm behind the unit, which we have about 160 here, so that complies. And if we are installing down the side of a house, we do like to see a minimum of 650 between the front of the fan and anything that might block it, like a building or a fence. We've installed our system, we've done all our testing, and we're ready to turn it on. All right, so the one thing we want to remember is that before we turn it on, we wanted all our zones, if we do have any, open. What we want to do now is we want to set the static pressure. From factory, it is set at 6. It has a maximum of 8. What we do recommend is we set it to 8. So we're going to do this right now. So making sure the controller is in the off position, we're going to hold down the plus button until we get a beep and we get a P-double-O. All right, then we're going to press the tick in the bottom right. All right, and then we're going to navigate with the up and down until we find SP for static pressure, which is here. All right, then we're going to press the tick again to get into this setting, and it will be set at 6 from factory, and we would like to see it on 8. Once we've set it to 8, we're going to press the tick again, and then we're going to press the back button in the second bottom right until we get back to the main screen, and that's it. Away you go. We're about to commission the Midea Vesta 17 kilowatt. If you have dampers on these, please make sure they're open before you start this commission process. So with the controller, you want to make sure that it's off by pressing the off button over here. Once you've turned that off, we need to hold down the copy button, which is here with the plus. We want to hold this down, and then we're going to get the P-double-O that comes up. And then we're going to press this tick button down the bottom right. What we're looking for is to change the static pressure. From the factory, it's going to be set to a 6 with a maximum of 8. So what we want to do is with the up and down arrows, we're going to go up until we find SP for static pressure. We're going to press the tick again, and the 6 is going to flash, and then we're going to set it to the maximum static pressure. It won't go past there. That's its maximum. Then we're going to press the tick again, and that's it. We're all set to go. We're going to press the back button and get out of this, and that's it. You've set your static pressure.